Hello Lost YouTubers! You've stumbled upon a video that somehow makes math even less fun than before. Previously, I began my quest to go back to the future in out-of-park baseball, a computer simulation game that lets the user pretend they're better than real front office personnel. We changed some settings, made some trades, but somehow still stuck with Ian Desmond. This surely will not be a problem. But now it's time for my crippled roster of overpaid veterans to tank the season. Rockies fans should be used to this by now. To begin the 2019 season, this is the lineup I went with, which will more or less be the constant for the beginning of the season. As per my usual tradition, I played the opening day game, where Ian Desmond actually managed to hit a home run. That $70 million contract is really paying off. Naturally, we beat the Marlins 5-1, with pitcher German Marquez nearly going the distance. The former Silver Slugger even picked up a couple of hits. From this point, I began simulating the month. Scott Oberg found himself on the injured list, while Marshall Kosowski got his call-up to replace him. Very shortly thereafter, Ian Desmond found himself injured for 9 months. I'm already overpaying you to underperform. You don't have to fucking be on the injured list the whole goddamn time. As a result, Colton Welker got his call up. God fucking damn you, Ian Desmond. Oh look, another injury. Kyle Freeland to the injured list, while Peter Lambert gets his shot at the show. Meanwhile, this is now my new rotation and bullpen. My god, Chad Bettis is bad. Look at that ungodly ERA. Not long after, Kyle Freeland is ready to come back, but I opt to ship him and Scott Oberg to rehab assignments. However, that rehab didn't last long, as Jeff Hoffman managed to hurt himself, and rather than deal with the lengthy recovery time of a middling pitcher, I simply released him back into the wild like an HM slave. So now Kyle Freeland is back, and these are now my pitching assignments. Finally, for April, Antonio Senzatella gets sent on a rehab assignment. We enter the month of May with a 20-11 record, a .645 win percentage, and we're first place in the NL West. Remember, we're trying to tank, so don't expect this to last. Of note, David Dahl was batter of the month in April. Here are the batting stats to date. Garrett Hampson not doing so great. Shocker. And here are the pitching stats. My god. Okay, Peter Lambert, gone. Sanwano, gone. We're bringing back up Senzatella. We're bringing Obi. We're getting these bitches back up here. We ain't doing this no more. Oh, and our top prospect, Brendan Rodgers, who replaces the demoted Garrett Hampson. We can't forget about that. Here are the new pitching assignments and the new lineups. Moving into May, Senzatella is hurt. Again. Okay, Brock Burke, you're getting your chance now. Chris Russin, however, no longer injured. I think I'll send you to a rehab. Along the way, German Marquez decided to throw himself a little shutout. On the polar opposite, I DFA'd Chad Bettis and called up Chris Russin. I also sent Senzatella to a rehab assignment. Again, these are my new pitching assignments. Pretty quick month of May. The Rockies now have a losing record of 28-30 with a .483 winning percentage, good for third in the division. This is more or less what I was expecting. Not terrible, but not winning either. These are the current pitching stats, as well as the batting stats. I DFA Mike Dunn, even though no one will claim him, and he is eventually released. Colton Welker and Brock Burke are both sent down, while Sanwano, Senzatella, and Garrett Hampson are called up. Here are the new pitching assignments, as well as the lineups. I also claimed Socrates Brito off of waivers from the San Diego Padres, who replaced Noel Cuevas on the roster. Chad Bettis also cleared waivers and was sent to AAA. Shortly after, we come across the amateur draft, where there are really no decent players to choose from by the time I received my first pick. I took Keone Cavaco in the first round, Garrett Frechette in the supplemental round, Ethan Hearn in the second with the intent of not signing to recover the pick next season, and Maki Backstrom in the third. I then pay most of my picks a bunch of money. Seriously, I haven't figured out how to lowball draft picks, so you tell me in the comments. We get towards the end of June and our owner assesses the state of affairs. Pretty much don't care what you think, boss. We enter July with a 46-40 record, a .535 winning percentage, good for first in the division. Jesus. This turnaround was thanks in part to a 9-game win streak and Charlie Blackmon's 7-game RBI streak. Here are the pitching stats, as well as the batting stats. I decide to use Chris Russell's day-to-day injury to place him on the 60-day injured list, or the phantom injured list if you will. I call up Philip Deal to replace him, though this really turns out not to be a good idea. I actually accept a trade from the Orioles and receive Nate Carnes for some minor leaguers. He takes Deal's place as I ship him to AAA. Seriously, that was a bad idea. Here are the new pitching assignments. The All-Star rosters are announced, not that I really care. And not only did the Rockies get 5 players into the game, Nolan Arenado was the highest vote getter, finally getting that mad street cred. Nolan is joined by German Marquez, Charlie Blackmon, David Dahl, and Trevor Story. After the pointless All-Star game, I decided that perhaps the season isn't lost and maybe I can make the playoffs after all, but also needed some starting pitching. There wasn't much I could do to upgrade the roster, but I did manage a trade with the D-backs, sending Carlo Estevez and Garrett Hampson for Robbie Ray, 3 prospects, and some cash. I also called up Colton Welker as a result of this trade. I also accepted a trade shortly thereafter with the Padres, acquiring Kirby Yates, parting with a minor leaguer of little value. Thanks, AJ Preller. To make room, I sent down DJ Johnson. After the trades, these are my pitching assignments. And this is my lineup. A few days later, Kyle Freeland shut out the Nats. Good. We reached the trade deadline and whoa! My inbox is just filled with trade offers. I don't accept any of those, but I do make another trade with the Diamondbacks, sending Brian Shaw, thank God, Antonio Senzatella, and Kyle Freeland for a struggling Zach Greinke, with the D-backs retaining 30% of his salary. You tell me in the comments, was this a good move? I guess we'll find out. At this time, I also call up John Duplantier and Brandon Brennan to fill the holes in the roster. These are my new pitching assignments, and this is my lineup. We enter August with a 58-52 record, a .527 winning percentage, good for second in the division. We realistically have a shot at the wild card, and it is my hope that we can make it, but I'm not holding my breath either. Remember, this is a rebuilding year. Here are the pitching stats. Wow, new guys really starting off rough. And here are the batting stats. No changes to the roster were made since we had just done that the day before. As per tradition, I also play the game the day after the trade deadline. Here is the lineup that I used. Of note were a pair of 2-run home runs from David Dahl and Ryan McMahon. Incidentally, that's interesting. The Rockies beat the Giants 6-3, and here are the box scores. Of course, David Dahl had to hurt himself shortly after this game and ends up on the injured list. Sam Hilliard gets put on the 40-man roster and called up to the show. However, Dahl recovers quickly and is sent on a rehab assignment. Chris Russin is also finished with his phantom injured list stint, so he is also assigned to a rehab assignment. We enter the final month of the season with a 72-64 record, a .529 winning percentage, good for second in the division, and currently the second wildcard seed. If we can win a few games more than we lose this month, we should make the playoffs. Here are the pitching stats, as well as the batting stats. At this point, I call up David Dahl, Chris Russin, and pretty much anyone else who looked ready. Here are the new pitching assignments and the new lineups. We are headed to the postseason, baby. Unfortunately, this is where the season ends quite anticlimactically. The Rockies ended the season with an 84-78 record, a .519 winning percentage, in second place for the division, and 2 games behind for the second wildcard seed, which was clinched by the Mets. God damn it, why the Mets? Thankfully, the Indians go on to beat the Dodgers for the World Series. Damn, even the Indians win a World Series before LA. These are the pitching stats to end the season, as well as the batting stats. Checking my end-of-season mail, I find that Kenley Jansen has opted into his contract and the owner is crawling up my colon about not meeting my goals, but still approves of how I'm handling the team. Talk about mixed signals. And finally, I have a bunch of money for payroll next season. Fucking A! And with that, that's the end of the season. I cannot believe how long this took. Seriously, this was painful. And I have to do this for how many decades? Like, comment, subscribe for more pain. Until next time, Oh my god.